The Baltimore Ravens lose another game in embarrassing fashion, this time to the Detroit Lions in week number 3. We instantly react and break it all down coming up on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here. Late night edition of the show. If you're live with us on Locked On Ravens, instantly reacting to the Ravens and Lions week 3 loss and making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. Free and available for you all podcasting platforms. And this was a tough one for the Ravens. 38-30 is the final score. The Ravens fall to 1-2 in really an inexcusable fashion, and we'll get to all of that. I want to thank all the everydayers, first-time listeners. If you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. And look, I think that in this game, there are a lot of things we can look at. We're going to dive into, obviously, the game as a whole. The Ravens dropping to 1-2. We're going to talk about the offensive line, in my opinion, failing Lamar Jackson and how Lamar Jackson played in this game. We're also going to talk a little bit about the fact that defense did not play very well. In fact, we're going to talk a lot about the defense and the fact that they did not play well in this game. So, again, appreciate everybody for duking it out with me here and keeping up with the show, even in these losses. I know it. And look, I know this firsthand. It's super hard to sometimes consume content when your team loses. So for everybody that's with us live or watching, listening after the fact, really appreciate you tuning in. Want to remind everyone today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Just disappointing all the way around. I mean, look, you come into this game, it's a really big prove-it moment for your squad, and it just feels like it faltered in nearly every single way outside of a couple of players, Lamar being one. And I want to clear this up because we do the Locked On Ravens watch-alongs. We had another fun stream doing that. Of course, the outcome of the game wasn't fun, but let's start with the sacks and the offensive line. Let's start there. Lamar Jackson as a whole, and I accidentally misspoke on the watch-along, and I said that Lamar Jackson wasn't spectacular. I didn't mean to say that. What I meant to say was Lamar Jackson at times wasn't spectacular at throwing the ball away in certain moments, right? That's like the one flaw I still see with Lamar at times. But other than that, Lamar was really, really good in this game. I mean, 21-27, 288. So that's what I meant on the watch along for those who were confused by that. I think I got sidetracked by accident. And so I stopped my sentence midway through. But that's truly what I meant is Lamar Jackson was really great in this game. I mean, look, he had a 148.1 passer rating, right? That's a really great game. But there were moments where at times he held on the ball for too long and sometimes just needs to throw those balls away. But in my opinion, my take on this, my official take is the offensive line did fail Lamar Jackson as a whole, right? It's not all in the offensive line. It's not all Lamar Jackson. Lamar did about as good as he could with the circumstances outside of a couple plays where I think he probably should have thrown the ball away, right? Like, it is what it is. Every single player has moments like that. But at this point, like, it's in front of our faces in a lot of these moments here, right? Where 7 sacks on Lamar Jackson should never happen. And I see the stat here from Cameron saying in 2021 against the Steelers, he took 7 sacks too. And again, at this point, you have to evaluate because guys are getting beat off the jump at points. And it wasn't like the O-line, every single player played bad in every single snap, but it was a combination of that, right? It's a combination. And so, yes, Lamar held the ball for too long at points, 100%. Like I said that on the watch along, at least I meant to say that on the watch along. I know I cut off my sentence halfway through. But other than that, we saw Lamar step out of the pocket, make spectacular throws. He and Rashad Bateman were unreal throughout the entire course of the game. Rashad came up clutch in so many different moments, right? In so many different moments. And yeah, and this is a good point from Daniel. And I agree with this. Like sometimes it is just the check down option. And look, Lamar Jackson, he plays hero ball better than the rest of them, right? He, Josh Allen, like Mahomes, like those guys. I think Lamar does that better than the rest. But sometimes it is truly just about taking the short stuff. And part of that is just scheming those guys open too and giving Lamar those outlets. Like, I don't think this was a great game personally from Todd Monken. We'll talk about Zach Gore a little bit later in the show. But if you've been listening to me on Locked On Ravens, you've heard me say this over and over and over and over and over again. It all starts up front for an offense and a defense, for a team. It all starts up front. And look, Marlon Humphrey getting honest again on the defense, saying, quote, we're just not very good. Again, we'll get to that a little bit in the second part of the show. But, I mean, at this point, it's embarrassing the way that the Ravens have lost these two games, right? It's embarrassing the fact that they lost those games. And it's the way that it happened, right? You go up 21-14 at the beginning of the third quarter. You get that momentum back, and then you just can't do anything with it for the remainder of the game. Derrick Henry has the fumble, his ball security. There's 3 fumbles in 3 games and 2 in extremely high leverage moments, right? And I see CJ, I lost your comment, but I saw you talk about it, saying that Henry, he's essentially killed momentum in 2 of these games with those high leverage fumbles. And yeah, Gary Williams here saying Lamar was fine. Offensive line gets pushed backwards way too much against a good defensive line. We can't short yardage when the defense looking for a run play. Yeah, look, the 148.1 passer rating, or I think, yeah, that's what it was, right? 148.1. Yeah, 148.1 passer rating's a really good game. Like, he had like that 2-point conversion throw was a little weird. Like, I would have to dig pretty deep to find like throws where Lamar missed. There were a couple, but he was great in my opinion. But again, where the not spectacular part came in for was either not finding a check down option, not throwing the ball away, and that leading to him backing up, trying to find something, trying to make something happen. And then he gets tackled behind the line. And again, Lamar plays that hero ball better than anybody else. And with that, I think you have to take some of those negatives. But yeah, I mean, at this point, it is what it is, right? You know, at this point. And yeah, like Besto's saying it here. Lamar 21-27, 3 touchdowns, offense put up 30. Like, the offense clearly was not the problem, right? It was clearly the defense. We're going to talk about that in the second part of the show. But I think that and I saw it on social media, there is a trend going on, or it might not be a trend, but like there's conversation going on about, man, this is Lamar Jackson's fault. Look at Lamar, and all the sacks were Lamar's fault. Absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. Sure, you can put a couple on him, but the offensive line is getting thrown back, and it's not on Lamar. This game is not Lamar Jackson's fault, in my opinion. It isn't. It is not. So you have a lot of different scenarios for the Ravens where they have to look themselves in the mirror, right? They have to look themselves in the mirror. They got way too cute on that 4th down play from the 1-yard line. I think that was the it was the 2-point conversion play, I believe it was, against Buffalo, where Mark had that drop as the roll. And those rollout plays, I'm so sick of seeing those rollout plays. Man, it's so hard. I'm curious to see the offensive line grades for tomorrow to kind of evaluate. But over the course of the game, I mean, the run game for the Ravens wasn't like all that spectacular. 12 carries for 50 yards on the day for Derrick Henry and his touchdown along with his fumble. Lamar ran a little bit more. He made some great plays there as well. 7 for 35. Again, Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, I was asking for those two. Can they get going? They certainly did. Mark 6 for 91 and 2 touchdowns, including that garbage time score. But hey, it doesn't matter. They actually, it was made it a 1-possession game. And if they had gotten the onside kick, they would have had an opportunity to tie the game because of that missed 2-point conversion. Rashad Bateman, 5 for 63 and a score as well. He was on fire. But I just, it's disappointing. It's disappointing because now you're 1-2. You go to Kansas City in week 4 to play in Arrowhead. It's not a good situation. Both those teams are going to be fighting for their seat. 1-3 is a really bad spot to be in. The most disappointing part to me out of all of this is the fact that you're right back where you started last year. They started 1-2 last season too, and they had to dig themselves out of that hole. Now they have to dig themselves out of that hole again, and they just got there in a different way, I guess, is if you want to put it that way. But this is now 3 straight weeks of questionable offensive line play at points, of multiple situations with Derrick Henry fumbling the football, the defense not getting the job done, and Lamar also just looked very frustrated. Like, I think something was wrong with like the communication. Like, Lamar was not on, and this again, not a Lamar thing, but I'm just saying, like, didn't feel like Lamar agreed with some of the coaching that was going on. That's what it feels like. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but you could tell like Lamar clearly was like frustrated for the majority of this game. Like, I don't know if he didn't agree with the coaching staff, if he was just frustrated at himself for missing throws at points. Like, I don't know, but you could tell that like Lamar was not with it. Like, he was not with something that was going on in this game. And we know Lamar's uber competitive. I love that about Lamar. I know, like, it's so annoying to me he gets a bad rep for that. Like, he's a competitive guy. Like, other guys are competitive and they don't get the flack Lamar does for that. He's competitive. He's allowed to show emotion on the sideline. He played a good enough game tonight where the Ravens, if the defense stepped up and played better, they probably would have won this game, right? But, you know, and this also was in a game where the Ravens penalty-wise didn't really have a bad game. Like, I know late in the game they kind of picked up it was the Marlin play, but where's the penalties? Yeah, 3 for 10, I believe, because the penalty was declined on Marlin. So 3 for 10 in the penalty department, which is exceptional, and they still lost the game. So I don't know. And Cameron, let me tell you, this play call, the Derrick Henry throw play call, this is what I'm talking about with Todd Monken. And if you've been listening to me, you know that I've said this about Todd before. He gets too cute. The Ravens get too cute. And this was one of those plays. I had James Prochet flashbacks. I was actively on the watch along having flashbacks, watching Derrick Henry wind up and throw this football, thinking of James Prochet, like double tapping that ball and throwing it. I was having flashbacks. Those are the things that just, like, why? What is and especially like, that's a play I genuinely have no words about. I have no words for that. So it's disappointing for sure. I mean, the offense, again, like, I don't think this was on the offense. I don't think this was on Lamar. I want to make that very, very clear. Yes, Lamar could have thrown the ball away or thrown it to a check down at points. You know, yes, certain play calls could have been better from Todd Monken. You know, yes, the Henry fumble changed the course of the game. But to me, this was on the defense. So coming up in the second part of the show, we are going to talk about that defense because, look, it is not good right now. I think we all know that. We all understand that. And there's some work to be done. So be sure to stay tuned. We got plenty coming your way on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens. First, this show is brought to you by PrizePicks, and this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing PrizePicks lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. I love checking projections like, for example, a Josh Allen for more or less than 270 passing yards, maybe a Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. And this week's max discounts included Patrick Mahomes at 0.5 passing yards. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Moving on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher still here with you on this instant reaction edition of the show, breaking down the Ravens' embarrassing week 3 loss to the Detroit Lions. Be sure hit the like and subscribe button in video form and audio form. We're a 5-day-a-week plus more daily Ravens podcast. So we're going to be breaking down this loss and moving ahead to Kansas City all throughout the course of the week. Regularly scheduled programming is Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern time. We also have the Locked On Ravens watch-alongs where we react to every single play live. We have the instant reactions like this show. We have the Locked On Ravens squad show, which is coming up right after this with myself, Sam Njoku, and former Ravens receiver Kadri Ismail. We got bonus episodes, the whole 9 yards. So tell a friend, tell a family member. We're here for them just like we're here for you on Locked On Ravens. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the defense. To me, we talked about the offense and some of those plays and the sacks and the offensive line and everything that kind of went on in this game. But to me, I think the blame falls on the defense, right? falls on the defense. Now, the Ravens are tied for allowing the most points in the NFL so far through 3 weeks. Ravens have allowed 97 points through those 3 weeks, tied with the Miami Dolphins. Titans are next at 94, Bears 93, Jets at 93. That is not the company you want to be in. That is absolutely not the company you want to be in. Here's another situation with this Ravens defense. Zero, zip, nada, however you want to say it. 0 sacks. 0 sacks. This is a problem. This is a major problem. Because even with Nando Medibike and Kyle Van Noy out there, and they, of course, they help, there was nothing doing in this game tonight. There was nothing doing. And what did I say? What have I said? It all starts up front for an offense and a defense. Clearly, the offensive line had their struggles tonight. But man, when the Ravens sent blitzes, no pressure. Jared Goff easily picked them apart. When they sent 4, no one got home. I'm curious to see the pressure stats for the game. I'm sure maybe tomorrow we'll get those, maybe later tonight. I'm not sure. But this is it's unbelievable. And you want to hear this is ridiculous what the stat I'm about to read right now. This is absolutely ridiculous. The Ravens missed 20 tackles. 20 tackles. I'll hold it up again. 20 tackles against the Lions in this game. 20 missed tackles, according to Next Gen Stats. Their full thing here is the Lions did not turn the ball over. They allowed 0 sacks, made the optimal decisions every 4th down, and missed only 4 tackles on defense. The Ravens finished with 1 turnover, another on downs, 7 sacks, and 20 tackles on defense. 20. We're back in like 2021 right now with these missed tackles. You can't have that. And it's everywhere. Now, I will say this. John Jenkins might have been the defensive MVP in this game. John Jenkins was all over the place. But that also says something about some of the other players on the roster and the lack of impacts they had. Right? Like Adafe Owe, 2 tackles. Tavius Robinson, 3 tackles. Mike Green, 4 tackles. Peebles didn't really do anything in this game, which is unfortunate. Like we didn't see it. And even on plays, I think it was Broderick Washington. Broderick Washington got pressure, and then Jared Goff stepped around him like he was Lamar. You can't let Jared Goff do that to you. And I will say this, and I guess let's get a vibe check right now on Zach Orr. What is everybody in the chats? And if you're not with us live, comment it down below. What is the vibe check on Zach Orr right now? It's been disappointing for sure for me. It's been disappointing. This is a situation where he's still very inexperienced. He was at times in this game, like just calling the wrong plays. I think they were playing too soft on some coverages. It was untimely blitzes. And that's the thing that made Mike Macdonald so good, right? It was his feel for the game. And like he didn't blitz. And it was a shift from Wink Martindale to Mike Macdonald, right? Because Wink was just blitz all the time. And Mike Macdonald was like, no, we're going to scale that back. But Mike was so timely and calculated with those blitzes. It just feels like there was one play. It was early in the game. I don't remember exactly when it was. But they sent Nate Wiggins on a corner blitz. Nate got nowhere. And it might have been the first or second possession of the game, maybe. I'm having trouble remembering. But it was earlier in the game. Nate comes on that corner blitz, gets nowhere, and it's just like, boom, picked apart. And so as a defense, you can't allow that to happen. But again, it's not all on Zach Orr. It's also on the players as well, right? It's a two-way street, and it's the same with Harbaugh too, right? I know Harbaugh's getting a lot of flack right now. And, again, he is the head coach, right? He is the head coach. So, of course, he will be getting the majority of this alongside some of the other coaches and players because, well, he is the guy who has his fingerprints on this. This is what I've said. You can't tell me that, okay, John Harbaugh doesn't have his you can't tell me John Harbaugh doesn't have his fingerprints on the offensive game plan and the defensive game plan. This is his team. So, yes, Zach Orr didn't make the right calls at points, 100%, right? You also have Todd Monken not making the right calls at points and getting too cute. But how many shields does John Harbaugh have left? And look, the Ravens are not going to fire. I just want to say this right now. The Ravens are, I'd be actually pretty floored if the Ravens fired John Harbaugh during the season, right? I think for me, this is an absolutely make or break year for John Harbaugh, considering how good this roster is, how talented they are, and the expectations for them. I know Harbaugh was trying to discredit this isn't Super Bowl or bust. That's ridiculous. And, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but that's essentially what the message was. But is Zach Orr going to be John Harbaugh's shield here again? After they've already fired an offensive coordinator, lost another defensive coordinator. They've had some turnover at points over the past couple of seasons. Like, during the season, I think's off the table, right? I don't think they're going to move on from him during the season. I think they're going to ride it out. They're going to see what happens. But if they have another disappointing exit, again, wild card, divisional, even for some AFC championship, I think that could be the end of the line for John Harbaugh. Because look, he's someone that would get a ton of head coaching interest. He obviously has the resume. But obviously recently, it's a what have you done for me lately league. The resume has been, it's not great. I mean, they've had, in my opinion, 3 incredible chances to win a Super Bowl during Lamar Jackson's tenure. This is number 4. 2019, 2023, 2024, obviously 2025 being this year. The Ravens have nothing to show for it, and they're 1-2 to start this season. What is it with the slow? Do they have to play guys in the preseason for the slow starts? And I see changes here talking about no pressure, no turnovers, gave up 225 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Harbaugh needs to go. He hasn't won anything since 2012 to 2025. Can't just keep firing coordinators. It's Harbaugh. And look, Harbaugh has a part to play. It's not just Harbaugh. It is everybody. But you can't keep doing it. Look, what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? And you look at how the Ravens performed on the defensive side of the ball and just look at some team stats here for the defense. Lions had 426 total yards of offense. They averaged 6.5 yards per play, 7.2 yards per pass. That 5.9 yards per rush was just disgusting. And part of that, obviously, in fact, a lot of it came on David Montgomery's 72-yard run. They held Jahmyr Gibbs technically in check, but he also had like 11 carries for 19 yards at the half or close to the half. And he finished with 22 for 67. So he as the game went on, they found their rhythm, and the Ravens just couldn't do anything. It felt like there were creases for those running backs to run through. And then, you see clutch plays early in the game from Jameson Williams in soft coverage when they shouldn't have been playing that soft. And I think it was Amon-Ra Jameson who had to play in that zone where they were just continuing to find soft spots in that zone. And on top of it all, one of the most disappointing parts of this to me is the Lions were trying to gift the game to the Ravens. They were trying to gift the game to the Ravens. There were multiple plays. And if you go back and watch the watch along, you see my reactions and the whole 9 yards. I couldn't stop talking about that mismanaged end of the first half for like 30 minutes. The Lions completely botched the end of the first half after the 4th down where they didn't get it and they went fast to the line and whatever, and the more fumbles. The Lions did everything they could to give that game back to the Ravens. Brian Branch dropped that interception. The Ravens scored a touchdown on that drive. So Lamar did what he was supposed to do in that moment, came back. The Ravens, they scored a touchdown. But, it's that moment. But again, you're playing like the Bills, really good team. Lions, really good team. These are the types of teams you're going to be playing in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, right? You're not going to be playing the Browns in the playoffs. I hate to break it to the Ravens, but that's not the team you're going to be playing, right? It's not the team you're going to be playing. And I see people talking about Derrick Henry and his fumbles. Look, and I said this on the watch along. It is time to talk about the ball security for Derrick Henry. It's three fumbles, 3 games. Henry also had that fumble against Pittsburgh last season. It's crazy. Actually, let me quickly pull up Derrick Henry. We're doing some live research. Try to find his fumbles for his career. So his career high in fumbles is 6 in 2022 in Tennessee. He had 5 in 2019. And he already has, so he had 3 fumbles all of last year for the Ravens, and he already has 3 in 3 games for the Ravens this year. Like, it's in the big moments, and it's tough. It's disappointing. And, you can tell, like, all the players are pissed. They're mad. But, like, I'm done with, like, the fuel on the fire type thing too. Like, they have enough fuel, right? They have enough fuel. So, it's hard when the offensive line isn't having a great game, when the defensive line isn't having a great game, when there are a lot of other factors. It's so disappointing. And now you're 1-2, as I said earlier, just back to where you started. So, man, we'll talk about a lot coming up in the final part of the show. I see a comment I want to get to as well about Keaton Mitchell. So be sure to stay tuned. We got a lot coming up on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens. Ravens unfortunately losing in embarrassing fashion to the Lions by the final score of 38-30. Stay tuned. A lot coming up on the show. First, this show is brought to you by Mazda. And Mazda's moving the game forward. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, well, it was disappointing for the Ravens in week 3 against the Lions. Look, I will say Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman had multiple plays that were huge third down conversions where game was looking lost even earlier. I know they lost it in general, but again, Lamar, Rashad, they kept fighting throughout the course of this game, even though it didn't turn out the way the Ravens wanted it to. In my opinion, they never gave up themselves. And, those were some big plays Lamar had for sure in a game where, again, he played very well, 148.1 passer rating. And so you got to be able to keep that momentum for those two and that connection heading into week 4 against the Kansas City Chiefs. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. And this show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if the bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building same game parlays, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. And look, if you had Mark Andrews at 2 touchdowns, you're probably living large. Mark out that garbage time score. Maybe add Rashad Bateman anytime touchdown over on FanDuel. Those are some good calls right there. So you're ready to play now on the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Continuing on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher still here with you, breaking down, mourning, grieving the Ravens. Terrible, horrible, no good loss of the Detroit Lions. I can't even talk because I'm so disappointed in them, but they lost 38-30. Lamar Jackson generally played very well. Defense did not. Offensive line did not. Just terrible. Just terrible. And I want to talk about, first of all, be sure you hit the like and subscribe button here if you want more daily Ravens coverage and content. Still a long season ahead. I know it doesn't feel that way. Certainly there are some things they have to work on and fix if they want to be true contenders. But we're going to be covering this team all year. We do it literally every single day here on Locked On Ravens. Tomorrow will be my 1,602nd consecutive episode. So really appreciate all the support here. We're actually just about under 300 subscribers away from 15,000, which is a huge goal and milestone for me. So be sure to tell a friend, to a family member, if they want daily Ravens coverage, send them over our way. We'll have them covered just like we have you covered on the show. You can follow me on social media, KShark34, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the whole 9 yards. Want to get to this comment from Karen here about Keaton Mitchell. So I know Keaton Mitchell is a very big contention point. Not really. It feels like the fan base is pretty united on Keaton right now. I'm trying to find the comment, Karen. I can't. We got so many comments. I think I might have lost it. Here we go. If Keaton isn't active next week, Harbaugh is actively avoiding using him at this point. It's true. Look, Rasheen Ali had the nice kickoff return, right? Great moment for him. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the touchdown. The Lions kicker saved that. But then you have this comment here saying, why are they only playing one running back? And, the gears start to turn, especially with what you see the Lions doing, right? With what you see the Lions doing, it's Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and they are just working you as that 1-2 punch. It keeps them fresh, keeps them healthy. And you look at it like Justice Hill in this game, zero carries. 0 carries. I think Justice deserves carries. I think Keaton Mitchell deserves carries. But only running the ball 12 times. And I know that, like, I guess game flow, but not really. Like, I think that they could have done a lot better in that department. Like, it just felt like Derek was just kind of like, he had that long touchdown to open up the game, and then, 28-yarder, and then it was just kind of like meh for the rest of it. But Keaton gives you a spark. You have to utilize your best players. And I'm not saying Keaton is the best player on the team or a top 5 player on the team, but he is a clear asset in what you want to do on the offensive side of the ball. I get the special teams thing. Special teams is important, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000%. But when you are actively not activating someone that could give you a spark on offense when things aren't going right, that can make something out of nothing, I'm actually sneak preview for those who are watching and listening here. I'm going to put a play I might honestly do it after I finish this, of Keaton Mitchell against the Lions last season. And I'm sure that will show some that he could have been active and good in this game. So, excuse me. I think that, with what the Ravens have, they have to bounce back. I mean, 1-3 is an absolutely devastating start to a season. And in my opinion, like, these are two teams in the Chiefs and the Ravens that are fighting for their year this week 4. Now, they can obviously come back. They can win 6 straight games or, hit that easy part of the schedule and hit a roll. But the fact that we're here again is just so deflating to me. It's so deflating. And it's crazy that either the Ravens or the Chiefs are going to start at 0-3. Harbaugh talked about that decision to punt the ball to the Lions. The drive ended it with a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. I'm curious. What does everybody think about that? It was late in the game. Ravens go and, punt the ball back to the Lions in the fourth quarter. Big deciding moment. I don't know. It was very deep in their own territory. It was only a 7-point game at that point. The thing is, they trusted their defense. I don't know why you would trust the defense with what we saw for the majority of that game. Like, that's the only reason you punt the ball is to, hey, defense, get a stop. They weren't getting stops, right? Like, that's crazy. And I see Randy saying here, I still can't believe it was 7 sacks. I still can't. Even if it was Lamar holding the ball for too long, the offensive line, again, the O-line failed Lamar, in my opinion. Like, there's only so much you can do. But I can't. One other thing, also, by the way, I forgot to talk about this. I'm going to go back to team stats for a second. Lions went 7 of 14 on third down. The Ravens 6 for 11 on third down. All right. Pretty even when you talk about both those teams. The Ravens actually had a better percentage than the Lions did. But those third down conversions just felt so timely throughout the game. It felt like in a lot bigger spots, those third down conversions came for the Lions. Whereas, like, the Ravens finally have a chance to, like, break through. Nope. Lions pick up a key third down, keep the drive going. Yeah, it's tough there. And look, I see the comments too. I see, and maybe Hambone here talking about Week 18 playoff deciding game versus Steelers. I hope it doesn't get that far, but, with the way they're playing right now, it's kind of crazy. But at this point, I see also people talking about the pass rush situation. Again, it's in dire straits right now. There was no update from John Harbaugh on Nnamdi Madubuike. I don't know what that injury is. I don't know if it's an IR stint. I don't know if he's lost for the season. I don't know if he's going to be back next week. Like, we genuinely do not know what's up with Madubuike right now. But they need to figure it out, because it was ridiculous that he was able to sit back there in that pocket, Jared Goff, and just pick this defense apart. Because you can be great in the secondary, right? But, Nate playing good, Chidobe having some moments. Like, I know Marlon struggled at times, but like, you can't cover genuinely for that long every single play when the pass rush is not getting home. So, whether it's the Dolphins, the Saints, the Giants, like one of these teams, whether it be interior, outside linebacker, you need to maybe make something happen here. And we know Eric DeCosta, by the way, is not shy about being aggressive and making moves. And I think that this might be one of those moments, because you don't want to wait until it's too late. 1-3, really tough spot to come back from. And by the way, even though the Chiefs, they are not playing good football right now, they are really bad at this point compared to their expectations and who they have been. And the roster's kind of fallen off. They've had certain injuries with the wide receivers. You cannot let Patrick Mahomes sit back in that pocket and pick you apart. You cannot do it, regardless of who he has and throwing the football to. You can't. You can't. And yeah, I see Tanya. I agree. This is exactly what I'm saying, and I agree with you. It all starts up front. You can't expect the secondary to hold on for that long. Once you start getting, and that's how you get in trouble, right? The pass rush and the secondary, they go hand in hand with each other. If one is faltering, the other suffers for that. If one is playing great, the other benefits. You have to be able to play well. And it's just rough. Offensive line, defense in general, they need to bounce back in a huge way. And again, it's just disappointing. It's embarrassing. And again, that 2 national TV games, 2 embarrassing losses in 2 different ways. So injuries always play a part, right? They missed Isaiah, they missed Matabike, they missed Van Noy, like Jair not being out there. But look, every team deals with injuries. I don't love using injuries as an excuse, even though certainly you could make the argument it would have helped if they had those guys today for sure. But that's all I have for you here today on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens. But don't fret, because if you want more reaction, we're going to go live about 12:30, not very long after this, with the Locked On Ravens squad show. Myself, Sam and Joke, and former Ravens receiver Kadri Ismail will break the game down even further. Be sure you hit the like and subscribe button here in video form. Follow along and subscribe in audio form, and I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.